I need you to come get me. Everything's falling apart. It's 11:40 at night, the third call like this in a week. And before you're even fully awake, before you've asked a single question, your hand is already reaching for the keys. Your body responds to that vibration before your mind does. You skip the logical questions, what fell apart, or why the world only ends after midnight, and move directly into a state of automatic rescue. From the outside, this looks like a choice. Observers see an intense relationship or a passionate history, and you might even describe yourself as someone who just happens to be dramatic or a lot. But the machinery is colder than that. It is a steady, deliberate drip of small emergencies, kept running on purpose. A person who is always putting out fires never has a free hand to open a door and walk through it. The entire situation turns on a single possibility. Your chronic exhaustion is actually the primary goal of the chaos. This is a manufactured tactic. It targets your capacity to think, ensuring you stay focused on immediate survival rather than long-term strategy. In a crisis, your body prioritizes speed over precision. Stress hormones flood the system, pulling blood and attention away from the slow, planning part of the mind and toward the parts that handle immediate threats. This trade is brilliant if a bear is chasing you. You don't need to weigh your options. You need to move. A manufactured crisis at 11:40 at night triggers that exact same chemistry. When it happens again on Tuesday and again on Friday, the alarm system never fully switches off, making that survival state your new baseline. This chart compares a healthy brain to one under the allostatic load of chronic stress. In a 2025 study, Pelix found that people carrying this heavy stress load had measurably less gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for planning and judgment. This reduction in gray matter targets the exact physical machinery you would need to think your way out. It leaves you less capable of imagining a future that looks different from the crisis you're in right now. As the planning center dims, the amygdala, the brain's fear-driven alarm, becomes louder and more reactive. Under a constant flood of stress chemistry, your nervous system begins to allow emotion to win every argument with logic before you even register a vote was taken. A person who wants to steer you can use this shift to their advantage. By keeping you rushed, guilty, and off balance, they ensure your own biology overrides your logic for them. This neurological shift creates a version of you that can react all night, but cannot strategize for 10 minutes in the morning. When logic is sidelined like this, you become significantly easier to steer. This raises a question about the utility of these crises. Who benefits from a partner who has lost the capacity to plan? Consider a triage nurse who flawlessly manages life or death emergencies at work, only to be paralyzed by shape-shifting dramas at home. In the hospital, the crises are real and they resolve. At home, the emergencies never end. They only change costumes, from money to health scares to family feuds. The defining tell of manufactured chaos is its timing. Real life is random, but these blow-ups land with uncanny precision. On this calendar, the spikes in crisis perfectly overlap with moments of personal rest or milestones, like the night before a job interview or a weekend with friends. This pattern persists because your peace is the actual threat. A rested victim whose prefrontal cortex comes back online is dangerous to a controller, because that is when you start to notice the inconsistencies. To prevent that clarity, the calm is reliably sabotaged. Every time the water goes still and you begin to think, a stone is thrown in to keep you busy bailing water. Coercive control functions as an invisible prison, constructed through the accumulation of chronic, low-level pressure applied over years. It hides in hundreds of tiny, reasonable-sounding moments, negotiations about spending or social calendars that are framed as partnership. Over time, the sheer volume of these small worries drains the psychological fuel you would need to ask what is actually happening to you. Eventually, this leads to learned helplessness. Like an elephant that stops trying to break a chain it has long outgrown, you become held in place by the memory of past failures rather than any physical barrier. Shifting into compliance and numbing your feelings is a survival adaptation to an environment punishing effort. Your nervous system concludes that nothing you do changes the outcome, so it stops trying. When you become convinced that effort is pointless, the prison is finalized. You stay in the spot they need you to stand because the capacity to imagine an exit has been successfully eroded. Arguments about money, health, or family
often end without resolution because the specific conflict is secondary. The true utility of the crisis is the creation of the fog, a state of total depletion that makes leaving feel like an impossible task. Shifting the problem from a personal character flaw to an external, predictable machine instantly neutralizes shame. Recognizing the pattern allows the planning brain to surface because you are no longer blaming yourself for a manufactured injury. You can bypass an emotionally scrambled memory by keeping a private, factual, dated log of these emergencies, just the dates and the facts. When you can see in your own handwriting that the last 4 crises landed exactly when you tried to do something for yourself, the pattern becomes evidence you can stand on. It transforms a vague feeling into a hard data point. You can also use the power of naming. The next time an emergency lands at midnight, you can silently label it. This is the machine. This simple act of observation creates immediate emotional detachment, pulling you slightly out of the crisis. For your next moment of peace, simply watch. Don't argue, don't engage, just notice who intentionally throws the stone to disrupt the still water. Seeing the machine for what it is, a set of engineered obstacles, is where getting free begins.